Have you ever noticed how heavy it feels when someone you care about no longer values you? It's like carrying an invisible weight on your chest. You start questioning your worth, replaying conversations, wondering what you did wrong. But here's the truth: your value does not shrink just because someone else stops seeing it. The trick I want to share isn't about changing them. It's about choosing you. It's about reclaiming your dignity, your peace, and your heart. When someone stops valuing you, it's tempting to turn yourself inside out just to earn back their approval. But here's a simple trick. Stop. Just stop. Step back. Let your silence speak where words can't. Because love, respect, and appreciation cannot be forced. And the moment you shift your energy from chasing validation to nurturing yourself, something powerful happens. You start to glow in ways you didn't know you could. This glow isn't about revenge or proving them wrong. It's about remembering who you are when you're not busy shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. The trick is simple but not easy. Value yourself first and then watch what happens. People either rise to meet you at that level or they fall away. Either way, you win. Because the truth is, when someone doesn't value you anymore, that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their capacity to see it. So choose yourself, step back, reclaim your power, and watch the universe rearrange itself in your favor. When someone no longer values you, the most instinctive thing we often want to do is chase. We want to plead our case, remind them of who we are, list the ways we've shown up, and sometimes even beg for the crumbs of attention they once gave freely. It's human. It comes from that deep longing we all have to belong and to be seen. But chasing after someone who has already chosen to withdraw their appreciation doesn't bring them closer. It usually pushes them further away. It also leaves us exhausted, stripped of dignity, and tangled in a story that says our worth depends on someone else's recognition. That's where the simple but powerful practice of stepping back comes in. Stepping back doesn't mean slamming doors or creating scenes. It doesn't mean writing long explanations or launching into dramatic exits. It is not about punishment, manipulation, or trying to make the other person feel guilty. In fact, the beauty of stepping back lies in its quietness. It is the decision to let your actions carry the weight of truth that your words may not be able to convey. Silence can speak in ways that shouting never could. It says, I respect myself too much to keep forcing my presence where it isn't wanted. Imagine a garden. You plant seeds, water them, and nurture them with sunlight. But if after a season nothing grows in a particular patch, you don't stay there forever, pouring more and more water, demanding life where there is no response. You shift your attention. You pour your energy into the soil that actually responds, into the places where growth is possible. Relationships are like that. If someone no longer values you, continuing to push for recognition is like watering barren ground. Stepping back is how you redirect your care to more fertile soil. Sometimes that soil is within yourself. The first moments of stepping back are often the hardest. Everything in you might scream that you're losing them, that you're giving up too soon, but it's important to pause and ask, what am I really losing? Am I losing someone who values me, respects me, sees me? Or am I losing the illusion that I can change their capacity to value me? When we sit with these questions, we start to see that stepping back isn't about loss, it's about refusing to lose ourselves. Stepping back without drama also creates space. Space for clarity, space for the truth to emerge, and space for the other person to reflect without the noise of conflict. Sometimes people don't realize what they had until your absence makes it undeniable. And sometimes your absence simply confirms what you already knew. They were never going to see you for who you truly are. Either way, you gain clarity, and clarity is always more empowering than clinging to uncertainty. There's also a profound dignity in restraint. Anyone can lash out, send angry texts, or rehearse accusations, but it takes deep courage to say nothing and let your stillness carry the message. That kind of restraint comes from a place of self-worth, because when you know your value, you don't waste energy proving it. You simply live it. So the trick is this: when you feel that urge to fight harder for their attention, practice stepping back instead. Trust that the right people will never need convincing of your worth. Trust that love, respect, and appreciation flow freely when they are genuine. And trust that your silence, your calm withdrawal, and your decision to choose peace over chaos will protect your heart far more than any dramatic attempt to be heard ever could. Stepping back without drama is not weakness. It is the quiet roar of self-respect. It is a statement that says, I am enough, whether or not you see it. And in that moment, you reclaim the power that was never truly lost. It was only waiting for you to stop chasing and finally return home to yourself. When someone stops valuing us, the temptation to spend all our energy proving our worth to them can feel overwhelming. We replay conversations in our minds, dissect their every gesture, and cling to small crumbs of validation like they are lifelines. But here's the truth. Every ounce of energy we invest in convincing someone of our value is an ounce we steal from ourselves, and over time that theft leaves us drained, uncentered, and far removed from the life we are meant to live. Redirecting your energy back into yourself is not only an act of survival, it is an act of deep self-love. Think of your energy as a current. When you pour it endlessly into someone who does not see you, it becomes like water running into a cracked jar. No matter how much you give, nothing fills up. The jar can't hold it, and you're left with nothing but emptiness. Redirecting your energy means choosing to stop pouring into places where there is no return. It means picking up your current, your flow, and letting it nourish something that grows, whether that's your creativity, your healing, your friendships, or your sense of self. This redirection often begins with the smallest choices. Instead of spending the evening analyzing their silence, you pick up a book that inspires you. Instead of rehearsing what you might say to win back their attention, you write a page in your journal, letting your own truth spill onto paper. Instead of waiting for them to notice you, you step outside, take a walk, breathe deeply, and remind yourself that the world is bigger than this one person's limited vision of you. These small acts may not feel grand in the moment, but they are seeds, and seeds, when watered consistently, bloom into entire gardens of resilience. Redirecting your energy is also about reclaiming your focus. It's asking yourself, where could my time, love, and passion create the most light right now? Maybe it's in learning a new skill, pursuing a passion you've put off, or reconnecting with people who already love and value you without question. Maybe it's in simply resting, allowing your body and heart to recover from the ache of chasing after someone else's approval. The point is not what you do, it's that you consciously choose to pour back into yourself instead of letting your energy drain away. And here's something powerful that happens when you redirect. You start to remember your own aliveness. You feel the warmth of your own presence. You rediscover that spark inside you that has nothing to do with anyone else's recognition. That spark is yours. It doesn't vanish just because someone couldn't see it. And the more you tend to it, the brighter it grows, until one day you realize you don't need their validation at all. Sometimes the fear of redirecting energy is that it feels like giving up. But it's not giving up, it's letting go. It's releasing the desperate grip on something that was never yours to control in the first place. You cannot force someone to value you. But you can decide right now that your energy will not be wasted in trying. You can decide that your growth, your peace, and your joy matter more than chasing shadows. And there's a quiet magic in that decision. When you redirect your energy inward, people notice. The same person who once overlooked you may suddenly become curious about your glow. But whether they notice or not isn't the point. The point is that you notice. You see yourself again. You feel yourself again. You recognize your worth again. Redirecting your energy is how you shift from surviving someone's neglect to thriving in your own abundance. It's how you stop being a passenger in someone else's story and return to being the author of your own. And that, more than anything, is where freedom begins. When someone no longer values you, it's easy to believe the solution lies in working harder to win them over. We think if I prove my loyalty, if I bend a little more, if I lower my expectations, maybe they'll see my worth. But what actually happens is that the more we compromise ourselves, the less they respect us. The antidote to this cycle is not trying harder, it's setting boundaries. Boundaries are not walls built out of anger. They are expressions of self-respect. They are not about shutting people out, they are about letting others know the conditions under which you allow them in. Setting boundaries begins with clarity. You have to know what matters to you and what you will no longer tolerate. Maybe it's refusing to accept constant cancellations or ignoring. Maybe it's deciding that you won't respond to disrespectful language. Maybe it's as simple as saying, I deserve consistency and I will not wait endlessly for someone to decide whether I matter. Boundaries are not demands you place on someone else. They are choices you make about how you will engage. You can't control what another person does, but you can absolutely control your response. At first, boundaries can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to overgiving, people-pleasing, or shrinking yourself to maintain connection. There's a fear that if you set a boundary, the person will leave. But here's the hard truth. If someone leaves because you honored your worth, they were already halfway out the door. Boundaries don't break healthy relationships. They reveal them. The people who truly value you will respect your boundaries. The ones who don't were never going to honor your worth anyway. Think of boundaries as guardrails on a winding mountain road. They're not there to restrict the journey. They're there to keep you safe, to keep you on the path, and to prevent the fall that could cost you everything. When you set a boundary, you are not being difficult. You are protecting the very core of your well-being. And nothing, no relationship, no fleeting moment of validation is worth sacrificing your peace of mind. Boundaries also communicate something powerful without you needing to explain yourself over and over. When you consistently hold to your limits, your actions speak louder than any words could. For example, if you say you won't tolerate being spoken to harshly, and then you calmly end a conversation the moment it happens, you are teaching the other person what is and isn't acceptable in your world. Over time, your boundaries create a kind of unspoken language, a language of self-respect. One of the greatest misconceptions is that boundaries push people away. In reality, they do the opposite. They filter, they create space for the right people to step closer, the ones who honor your needs and appreciate your presence. Without boundaries, anyone can have access to your time, energy, and heart, even those who drain and diminish you. With boundaries, your life becomes curated, filled with connections that actually nourish you. And here's the most empowering part. Boundaries are not just about others, they're also about you. They remind you of your own value. Every time you say no to something that disrespects you, you are simultaneously saying yes to yourself, yes to peace, yes to dignity, yes to the life you deserve. When someone doesn't value you anymore, you might feel tempted to tear yourself down, to compromise endlessly just to keep them around. But boundaries change that pattern. They say, I will not diminish myself just to remain in your story. If you want to stay, you must respect the terms of my worth. And if they can't or won't, you'll know it's time to step back, not because you are unworthy, but because you finally believe you are. Boundaries are love in action, the kind of love that begins with you. Something almost magical happens when you stop pouring your heart into people who no longer value it. At first, it feels like loss, like you're letting go of something familiar, even if it was painful. But once the dust settles, once the silence becomes less heavy, you begin to notice a shift. It is both internal and external, and it always carries truth with it. The first shift is inside of you. You feel lighter. Not because the hurt disappears instantly, it doesn't, but because you're no longer carrying the exhausting burden of forcing someone to see your worth. That endless striving, that constant guessing, it begins to fade. In its place grows a sense of clarity. You start to realize that you don't need anyone's permission to feel valuable. That recognition has to start with you. And when it does, the world around you rearranges in surprising ways. The second shift often happens in the other person. When you step back, when you no longer chase, beg, or fight for scraps of attention, they're confronted with the space your absence leaves behind. Sometimes that space jolts them awake. They suddenly realize what they've been taking for granted. Your presence, once overlooked, now feels like a void they can't ignore. And they may return, offering respect they didn't give before. But here's the key, you no longer wait for this outcome. You don't hinge your worth on their return. If they rise to meet your value, it's a bonus. If they don't, you've already chosen yourself. The third shift is in how others perceive you. People around you, friends, family, even acquaintances, notice when you reclaim your power. They see the way you carry yourself, the way you no longer settle for half-hearted love or half-spoken respect. And that energy is magnetic. The relationships you attract when you're rooted in self-worth are profoundly different from the ones you cling to out of fear. Healthy people are drawn to someone who honors themselves. In choosing yourself, you send out a silent signal: only those who can meet me with respect are welcome here. But perhaps the most beautiful shift of all is how you begin to see your own life. You notice opportunities you once ignored because you were too preoccupied with winning over someone's approval. You take risks, creative, professional, personal, because your energy is no longer wasted. You feel freer to laugh, freer to rest, freer to explore. The absence of their validation no longer feels like a hole in your life. It becomes space for something better to grow. Watching these shifts happen isn't about revenge. It isn't about teaching them a lesson or proving a point. It's about awakening to a deeper truth. Your worth is not negotiable. When someone doesn't value you, stepping back and choosing yourself creates ripples you can't fully predict, but those ripples always lead to growth, whether in you, in them, or in the connections yet to come. The beauty of this process is that it doesn't require shouting, arguing, or pleading. The shift comes through quiet strength, through stillness, through the courage to walk away from places where you are diminished, and the faith to trust that something greater awaits where you are celebrated. So watch closely. When you stop trying to convince someone of your worth, you'll notice how your world changes. You'll see who steps up, who falls away, and most importantly, who you become in the process. That transformation, rooted in self-respect, lit by self-love, is the kind of shift that doesn't just change relationships, it changes